This is Foxbutton's Otogi's gun. Given that Fox is not playable yet, the gun does not have an official name in Blue Archive. However, it is based off the 29-inch version of the Barret M82A1 by its commercial name, or M82A3 by its military designation. Jammed in 50 BMG.
Nice balls, bro!
It is one of the few semi-automatic firearms of its class. So, let's go over some features of her gun. Wait, hold on, before we do, I have something that will make the visual comparison a little bit easier. Starting off with the bipod, Otogi opted for the Harris bipod instead of the stock Barrett one. I used the Harris SLMP bipod and used the B&T B279 rail to attach it to the gun. I do have to say though, although Harris bipods are usually great, they are terrible for this gun. It makes it quite unstable and easy to tip over. It also pushes back quite a bit while shooting. Otogi, please pick a better bipod. Otogi's scope, according to the wiki, is a Loophole Mark IV 4.5 to 14 x 50. However, I opted to upgrade this to a Vortex Razor Gen 3 6 to 36 x 56 instead. I just wanted something a bit better and more durable. Plus, Vortex has a no questions return policy, indicates up to force of 50 BMG breaks the optic. The best part is that it also already comes in this perfect shade of brown like Otogi's scope. Otogi also has tape around his scope and front handguard. I've had people ask me if it actually serves any purpose, and I can tell you for a fact that the tape is not going to save the optic when you shoot 50 BMG, so the tape is really only there for aesthetic reasons. However, it also makes it impossible to take the gun down because it does go over both the upper and lower receivers, as well as the pin that holds them together. The Blue Archive artist took a great amount of creative liberties with the design of this gun. One of the glaring issues is how small the bolt and ejection port are. They made it half the size compared to the real gun to put on the Fox decal. As you may have noticed, my gun is missing the Fox decal. I could fit either only the tape or decal, and I opted for the former as I thought it would be more important for the gun. Plus, it is a pain to stencil there because there is a fairly large gap between the upper and lower receiver. I don't think the artist realized this given how flat it is in both the art and in-game chibi 3D model. Funnily enough though, the 3D model actually has the correct bolt size and opted to not have the Fox decal like my gun. The 3D model also modeled the carry handle accurately by having it as an attachment on the top rail. The art has the carry handle as a part of the receiver itself, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So, I guess good job on the 3D modeling for getting it right. A thank you to YoJohn176 for uploading the chibi model on Sketchfab. The gun also has some funny scaling. As Sir Slarty pointed out on Reddit, if we use the gun as a basis, it would make Otogi 170 centimeters or 5 feet 7 in freedom, which doesn't sound bad initially, but she's definitely meant to be a half pint, as it would make Yukino 194 centimeters or 6 feet 7 if she was actually 5'7". This is also assuming that the gun is the 29-inch version. I've had people also think that Otogi's gun is actually the 20-inch CQB version.
Huh?
Otogi's gun has had this weird length between the two versions, but I personally think it's closer to the 29-inch one. One thing I do get asked too is if the gun is actually an M82 or an M107. They're essentially the same gun, but the M107 is a slightly lighter and improved version for military use, including suppressor capability. However, we can tell Otogi's gun is an M82 by the shape of the stock grip and muzzle brake. The one difference that I think leads people to thinking Otogi's gun is the M107 is the rubber padding on the stock. The M82 does not come with this, and I had to attach a rubber pad myself, although it is high-key falling apart from use. So, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I recreated this gun back when I wasn't planning on making videos, so the best thing you guys are getting are sketchy photos of me painting the gun outside and scaring my neighbors. Either way, recreating this gun was quite simple as the receivers already came in FDE. However, everything else came in black and had to be repainted. For the barrel, I used Alumahide, which is kind of this middle ground between spray painting and Cerakoting. I had to try 3 colors though before I found the best one. My first attempt was with Magpul FDE, but it ended up being way lighter than the receiver. My second attempt was with Coyote Brown, and I tried repainting the receiver first this time around too. But I didn't like how pale it ended up being. So I scrubbed it all off and tried earth brown on the barrel, and it still doesn't quite match if you look really closely at certain angles, but it's pretty damn close. Mind you, I was in college at the time and lived in an apartment. I used my friends' houses for the first 2 attempts, but I had no one for my last attempt. So this one was just done right outside my apartment door. The reason why I kept failing was that the Barrett's FDE Cerakote is actually darker than most FDEs are, almost being closer to a dark peanut butter. However, I used the same earth brown color for the magazine and simply used a brown expo marker to draw the 3 on. The charging handle on the bolt, as well as the attachment point of the carry handle, was also painted to be earth brown. For the rail and scope mount, I used Rust-Oleum Flat Protective Enamel Brown spray paint. The pistol grip was quite easy, as the M82's grip is just an A2 grip for the M16A2 or AR-15 platform. I just ordered the FDE version and replaced the black one. For the magwell decal, I had a friend create a stencil for me and I spray painted it on. Given the nature of stencils, it came out a little blurry, but still pretty good. The other side of the magwell is also supposed to have the decal, but the Barrett engraving and serial numbers right there, and I prefer to have that. Other than the accessories/attachments mentioned earlier, that was pretty much it. Of course, as all of my projects usually go, the hardest part of the recreation was the cost. Barret M82s usually go for around $7,500 to $10,000. My gun ran me around $9,000 after tax, and then the scope was an additional $2,800. The bipod and rail were relatively cheap at $150 and $100. So my total for this entire project was just shy over $12,000. Furthermore, shooting it costs $3 to $5 per round just for cheap FMJ. The most common myth about this gun is that it is a sniper rifle. In reality, it's not. It is an anti-material gun. Most snipers are 0.1 to 1.5 MOA. The Barret is a 3 to 4 MOA gun, and it was really designed to hit vehicle engine blocks or equipment instead of humans. However, its accuracy was sufficient enough to be used in a sniper role by the US military, especially with the Marines in the Gulf War conflicts and wars thereafter, especially thanks to the range of 50 BMG and its ability to penetrate through cover. I mean, it is an absolutely massive bullet. The projectile alone is probably bigger than an entire 5.56 round. That being said, the reason why it's a relatively inaccurate gun is that it trades it for superb recoil management. Everyone who has shot this gun, including Free Retomic, has said it doesn't feel as bad as I thought it would.
Oh yeah!
A thank you to him for the free tag too. It is akin to shooting a 12 gauge slug and maybe even a little less. The worst part is standing next to it while shooting, as the muzzle brake directs all the gas sideways. Unless you're my friend, apparently he just doesn't give a shit. Anyways, while the muzzle brake, bolt travel, and weight of the gun does much of the recoil management, one other feature is that the barrel actually reciprocates during shooting, which absorbs some of the recoil. If you look inside the handguard, you can actually see the spring system for the barrel. It is a very fun gun to shoot though, and it's especially fun to mag dump. You can sense the pure power in it, and it's the closest thing you can own to a cannon. All the concussive force also just clears your sinuses completely while shooting. It turns a lot of heads at the range, and I've set off car alarms half the time I take it out shooting. That being said, I have no idea how the hell Otogi manages to run around with this thing. The gun with the scope is around 36 pounds, and most of the weight is on the barrel end, making it even harder to wield. I had my friend try her chibi reload animation, and you also saw her shoot it while standing earlier. He said he had to use his entire body to do so she never hits the gym to be carrying this gun around. That's it for this episode. Thank you guys for watching. I know this video has been super delayed. This was actually my first Blue Archive recreation made back in March, and it's also what many of you guys will know me from. The funny story about this gun was that I started work on Vaso's gun first, but got this gun and finished it before that. I've also been recently working with a sponsor and creating media for them, so I've been quite busy. I do get to shoot tons of cool guns and shout expensive gear though, including this $10,000 PVS-30 night vision clip-on that I got to put on Otogi's gun and shoot. Also, thank you guys for bearing with my voice. I know it's not the best, and that's why I put out subtitles. You probably heard it degrading as the video went on. I did this in one sitting, except for this ending segment, and it lasted 12 hours. I did over 600 voice clips with almost all of them being retakes. It's easily the worst part of doing these videos. However, I will see you guys in the next episode, which will probably be Racist EP12. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and follow me on Twitter to know when that's gonna come out.
Ha 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 ha!